All right, I won't keep you. I know you're a busy lady. I know you got boys and work and everything else. But I did
Yeah.
want to say hi and see you and yeah, and hear what you thought about the whole program. It was like for me personally, I'll start off. I think you saw some of the stuff I posted about Jax, and
Yeah, that was funny.
yeah, I mean, it was really wild the way it worked because I didn't promote that course at all, really over top of the holidays. I was lounging when maybe I shouldn't have been, and it turned out that Jax was the only one in there. So obviously we got to spend a lot of time just chatting, right? The coaching call, which is usually maybe 5 to 7 minutes a player, it was like 45 to an hour with Jax. So I got to know him really well, and
That's funny.
which was awesome because at least like what I got from him and what he was giving
Mhm.
me, it seemed like it was like really quite impactful for him. Did you see that or hear that from him from a mother's perspective?
Yeah, honestly, like I kept so as you know, probably like it was all him. Like I did not follow, I did not watch. It was all on him. I'd check in. I'd be like, "So, how's it going? Are you using the tools that are given to you?" And he'd be like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, well tell me what's going on. Like tell me what's those tools and how are you using them?" So yeah, and he did tell me about school and he did tell me about being able to talk to people a little bit better. It definitely I think hearing it from you too changed his perspective on things. Like me saying stuff doesn't always work when it comes from mom or dad, right? So by hearing it in a different way, probably it turned on a bit of a light bulb. And that's kind of what we've been trying to achieve on our own, but needed help. Um, and then like the past weekend, like you got the text from him and I recognized it. I was like, that looks like my kid because he is a centerman typically. He's very versatile. And the coach asked him to play defense. We're short on D and we are playing like he's playing AAA hockey in minor bantam and asked to play D. Typically he probably wouldn't like that much. But he said, I'm just going to do my best. And like he had a good attitude about it. So it was nice.
That's fantastic, and was super successful too. It sounded like.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I think he could play either position, which is scary at this age that he could do both. But
Right.
I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but
he had a good
to
attitude.
your point though, like whether his ability says he could or he couldn't, if he walked into that with an attitude that was like, I don't want to do this, like the
Yeah.
success probably wouldn't quite have equated the same. So the fact that he was
Oh, yeah.
relishing the adaptability, one of the things that I talked about a little bit, and maybe some of that mental agility and attitude. I mean, he's got a great attitude, anyways. It seems like to me, but to bring
He
that in a
generally does. Yeah.
situation where you're not super comfortable and you're not really loving it, and to have those results, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hold on one second.
Yeah.
uh yeah, that's really crazy. And then coming out of that break too, right, where he wasn't, nobody was playing, you guys weren't doing anything. So maybe the course was a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit of a good thing to have for him during that downtime.
Yeah, I think so. It gave him something to focus on and keep on track because like he honestly really does want to hit the next level. And he's doing everything he can to get there. But yeah, it's hard. We come from a smaller area and there's a lot of like different types of barriers for him. So yeah, using that mental, mindset and it really will take him further. I feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just like, he's so I guess innocent in a way. Like he's super intelligent and he's intellectual, but like there's just this
Yep.
innocence to him. Like when something would hit him and we'd have a talk, he'd just take like a deep breath and he'd be like, yeah, like, wow, yeah, like
Yep.
it was really neat to have some of those moments and to share some of those moments with him that were quite impactful, and that he was, like I said, you said it, and I've said
Mhm.
this before, not just in your scenario. Sometimes the message isn't a whole lot different. Like lots
Yeah.
of moms and dads are really, they want this stuff to happen, but sometimes a different message, I mean, the same message, just a little different way from a different messenger at the right time, can make a
Yeah.
big difference, and
Yeah.
And when you can take your mom hat off and stop trying to be a hockey coach, I mean, sometimes that's easier too. Like I've had that
Yep.
from parents to say, you know what, it was actually nice to not have to be involved and just sort of be in the background and allow this to take care of
100%.
itself.
Yeah, 100%. Like he just need it's and it's nice just because you're a man too, and to have that from someone that's as knowledgeable as yourself, it really hits home. And like you nailed it. He's got this innocence to him. It's funny really because he's quite like he's 14 and he's got the man of like the voice of a man. So people see him differently a lot because the way he's perceived is very fun because he's a very strong physical player and he's got this deep voice, but he's like this little kid inside, and it's so funny. Like he takes everything like really seriously into heart. Um, so to be able to use those skills that you're giving him, it's just gonna I think it's gonna really help along the way because he's like he said, he used it on the weekend. He was given a curveball, he hasn't been on the ice. And he was happy. Like he was genuinely happy and he looked happy. The coaches loved him. So it was good. Like there's lots of positives.
Cool.
He's searching for that, like I said, he's constantly searching for that next level, so he's never really happy. So to give him those things to reset and to keep him focused is going to be huge because I think he can get easily distracted because he wants it to be perfect. Like he wants it to be better. And he always says, I can do better. I can do better. Even when he's done fantastic, he's like, I can do better. Like I didn't like that. I can do better. Like so he's difficult in that way.
Right.
I don't know.
No, that's I mean, that's a high performance trait, really. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you. So, and usually the high performers and the high achievers can come down really hard on themselves. There's kind of
Yeah.
there's the two ends of the spectrum there. There's the one end that like feels really good, too good about themselves, like so good that they don't think that, they need to do anything. And then there's the other side that's like, they only can kind of see the flaws and the mistakes and the errors, right? Because they're trying to strive and push forward. And I found that Jack's, definitely fit into the second one, which is great for allowing that development, and that push
Yeah.
and then never be satisfied. But I find a lot of times working with athletes like that they don't enjoy it enough.
Yeah.
Like they don't enjoy it enough and they don't allow themselves to just soak in it sometimes and be like, you know what, this is pretty good. So yeah, I mean, that's the micro coaching. Like that's the fun stuff that I got to do with Jax is like kind of dig in with that a little bit more and to get that, because you do need to have that allow. And that's why those there's some tools in there for allow them to do that moving forward, right? Like to always acknowledge, what did I do well? And to
Yeah.
always start the call with, hey, what are you proud of? What can we celebrate? Because a lot of times those players are so quick to tell you what they didn't do or what they want to get better, right? That they're missing the whole aspect of like, you know what, man, you did great. Like, let's just allow that to happen. So anyways, I mean, it's neat to see that. And I'm glad that you're saying that, because if he can have that self-awareness to give himself just enough time and enough minutes to be like, you know what, man, you're doing pretty good. That helps him be able to move forward with a little more positivity. And he also feels better about it and there's more passion and you're happier. And it kind of changes the whole attitude about everything,
Yeah. It's been really good because like so he's always been a kid with confidence. So it's really it's interesting in certain ways. Like on the ice, he's confident. It's off the ice, speaking with his coaches, that was always the trouble. Like the communication was always, and like what his coach said, I sent his coach that video of the two of you, and he's like, I've never heard Jax talk so much ever, which I found like that to me was like enlightening because I was like, because that's the Jax you saw was the Jax I know. So I was like, okay, interesting. And I'm like, that says a lot right there. Like, and this coach has known him for 4 years. And that was the most he's ever heard him speak. I was like, what? And like, typically, like in school, anywhere else, he's a good communicator. But he was not with his coach. So it was interesting. I was like,
Well,
okay.
that is interesting. I mean, to me, it's starting to happen more at the upper levels. Unfortunately, I mean, minor hockey and youth hockey, you just can't. You know what I mean? And this is what I do, obviously, as a living, but I'm also a youth hocky coach, right? So, like
Yeah,
with
I
my
saw
own
that.
team, there's no way that I can sit down and have those types of conversations with 17 players.
Yeah.
It's just impossible, right? Because you're dealing with the whole and you're dealing with the collective group. And yeah, you have to you try and have these discussions and be personal, build relationships, but it's not the same, right?
Yeah.
But I am doing that now with like the Salmon Arm Silverbacks, which is a BCHL team out here. And it's called micro coaching, is a interesting way to say it, because
Okay.
I think that's my job, to have the small detailed conversations, to get know these guys in a personal level, know their nuances, know their ticks, know what they want, all those types of deals. And then guess what? I'm not the one telling them if they're going to play tonight. I'm not the one putting them on the power
Yeah.
play. I'm not the one that has any stake in the game other than them being amazing, right? Like for
Yeah.
themselves. So a lot of times that allows them to just open up and be humans,
Yeah.
you
That's
know.
cool.
So nothing against like his coach now, I'm sure he's a great guy, but it's just there's a different dynamic there for players, right? Like
Yeah.
you have that kind of armor and you have this persona and you have this intention, and
Yeah.
you don't want to let your guard down, and you're careful about what you say, and you know all these things. So I'm glad he felt that with me 100%. I mean, I felt it with him.
Yeah.
And again, you know, wherever that is, I hope that he finds a place to
Yeah.
be able to do that, you know, because it's super helpful and it's healthy, you know, at the
Yeah.
same time.
Agreed. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. No, it's been good. He's using whatever you're giving him, because he can even articulate it better to me now, like what's happened and how he felt about this game. And that's what I basically do. I like, how did you feel? Like, what went well? Like, what do you think you could do better? And he can tell me. So it's like, okay. And he's like really into watching his games now. So he'll go back and watch the video, and he'll send me clips. It's so funny. He'll send me clips of like a big hit or something, and then he'll watch the whole game and be like, "Oh my gosh, I could have did this and this and this." But it's funny. Yeah.
Well, that's a good tool. I mean, it is a good tool as long as you're looking at that through an objective lens, right? And maybe he's growing that a little bit, right? To be able to appreciate the good and the bad. And I want to go back just a little bit just to point something out.
Okay.
I shouldn't say generally, but a lot of times
Mm.
parents are drawn to the program because there's a confidence issue, right? Or there's something that they see isn't quite happening or doesn't quite look right.
Yeah.
And the program can definitely do that. But I love how you said that Jax wasn't lacking in confidence necessarily, maybe a little bit off the ice with communicating or whatever, getting into groups, but on
Yeah.
the ice, he was a confident player. And
Yeah.
that really is like in line with like when I designed it, it was for the high achiever, right? Like, how do you want to get better? Like for the guys that really want to push the envelope, who want to
Yeah.
make that dream come true.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to point that out because it's not for the broken player. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's for the player that's just fine, but just wants to do better and wants to have more
Yeah.
tools and wants to be able to, you know, extract what they have inside them. So I'm glad that Jax was able to do that and find that. I just found that so interesting because I never know.
Hmm.
I absolutely never know, right? Like how players are going to apply it. One, because I don't know their background, where they're coming from, how you know the whole scenario. But for him from week one to have this big breakthrough with like talking to people at school, and like he used that to start conversations and to not do his normal routine and to realize that he could change, like that was really, really wild to me. And I don't know, it kind of blew my mind a little bit because it made such a big impact on him too. Like, did you know it in the time when it was happening? Like, or how does your relationship with him happening with that?
So he basically because he tells me everything. Like, he's pretty good. Like with me, he's very open. But I didn't realize, because he's a funny kid in the sense that like he's so confident. Like I said, in hockey, in like all sports, like he's a high achiever across the map. So, and he's always been fairly outgoing. So, but I guess he got into this routine because the thing is, he's been good at basketball, he's good at hockey, he always outperforms everyone. So people actually don't want to, like, even at school, play with him because he's that much better. So it's not fun for them when he plays. and he's had this experience for a very long time, and so he's tried to fit in. And so he doesn't say as much, and he's not like overly cocky about his abilities, because I think he just wants to have friends, right? And but seeing how much it's actually affected him was really, it's really, it was really sad, because really fantastic, kind of fade into the back so he can be a part of something, but then it actually did the opposite. It lost, he lost that ability to communicate and talk to others.
Yeah, that's are you still there, or did you have to cut out? No, I'll have to wait for. All right, you're back.
I'm so sorry about that.
Oh,
I don't know what
okay.
happened.
No worries. Yeah, I just lost connection. Yeah, we actually talked about that a little bit, and again, his innocence was really cool. Like when we were talking about just his his abilities in the physical stuff, for sure, is what we talked about. He's like, yeah, I'm just, again, there's no one else in the call, right? He's just telling me how it is, right? And he's just like, yeah, I'm just, sometimes I have never played the sport before, and then when I go out and play it for the first time, like I'm kind of better than everybody, and he's like, and the coaches don't believe that I never played it, or whatever before. And so we talked about that, because he said, yeah, I mean, it's hard, because then, either you're not wanted, or, or they're not invited, or whatever the case may be, makes people not feel comfortable. And we talked about that, because that's there's a social dynamic to that.
Yeah.
There are certain environments where maybe you do want to fit in, but you definitely do not want to fit in, because if you want to be an NHL player like he does,
Yeah.
right, or what, like, you got to stand out, and you got to be totally prepared to do things in public that other people aren't willing to do.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, you have to, right? And that's awkward,
Yeah.
and that's hard, because a lot of people don't want to do that. And when they
Yeah.
don't want to do that, they're going to judge you and point fingers and say, look at the try harder, look at this, or look at that.
Yeah.
Right. But you need to have that inner confidence and that perspective to be like, well, this is exactly what it takes. So maybe that's exactly what I should be doing. The more people that point fingers at me, the better,
Yeah.
And that was kind of one of the ones where he was like, oh yeah. Right. Like, yeah, that is what I want, So anyways, I mean, especially during these teenage years, right, where all that other stuff is happening with, girls and social and, everything that's going on. It's a lot of dynamics there. But boy, if we can give him any type of little bit more foundation, or a little bit more perspective, right, on just being able to accept the fact that that's what he's got to do,
Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, it is funny, because it's always, it's such a weird double-sided message, because he gets so much praise, because, like, from teachers at school, for not basically wrecking other kids and giving them a chance and giving them a turn. And so he's got that side at school, and so they'll praise him because they know his abilities, and they just say, oh, we noticed you didn't do that, and you passed to this person, and you taught this person that. And then he's got to flip the switch and go, when he's in his hockey, to the other guy that they can't care about that, and just go do his thing, right? So it's I think it's the age thing too, honestly. Like, he's just going through those bumps, and like you said, to have those tools to, like, literally focus his mind on what he wants to do is huge.
Right.
Because he was all over the place before, like, and that was part of the problem. Like, his mind was all over the place. But he's also been, because he's a very versatile player, his coach has used him. It's been good for his development, but not good for his mindset, really, because he's been all over the place. He's a natural center. He could play any position. Like I said, like, he could be a defenseman. He could play the wing. He is a natural center. He's very strong, great eye coordination, good vision. But the coaches played him, like, last year, played him literally as, I guess you'd call it, like, a rover. because the coach is a nice guy and he didn't want to sit kids, was the reasoning behind it. So he didn't want to have like a fourth line.
Okay.
So he would send Jacks through all three lines, first, second, third line. He could be left wing, right wing, center, whoever's turn it was to have a sit down, and then he'd go through the D. So he'd go left D, right D. Yeah, so he was literally everywhere. And like, and if you know, like to switch your mind from each position and what your job, like even like that age was major peewee at the time.
Yeah.
Like it's not an easy job. And then he played him on center this year, and yeah, it's been hard because he hasn't had like a real focus, and he can't really focus on that job. So this has been really good. He can really stop himself, reset, think where he wants to be, think what he wants to do, and then like execute it. I think, and then with the perspective about it is too.
Right.
That's the difference, I think.
Yeah, no, that's good. And then in week 2, like there's a lot of identity building there. And even like at the junior levels, when I see like players don't really understand like who they are, or at least who they need to maybe amplify or be to get what they want, right? Like there's a lot of identity crisis, you know. Once that the funnel gets a little narrower, you know, and I don't know where Jack's going to fall in this funnel, right? But maybe you scored a lot of goals in Pee Wee and Adam and Bantam, and now you're in junior and you're not that guy on this team, yet they're still fighting to think that they have to be that guy, right? There's no adaptability, there's no evolution, there's no, you know, figuring it out. And yeah, so like when you start hammering in those things, start thinking about that now, like you can see from the position differences, right? So like you're going to play a little different as a defenseman to a forward to a center. Like, so he's got that well-rounded background now. And now it's just an idea of, okay, who is he when he's playing whatever, right? To understand what is he bringing to the table and how's he going to impact the game. So that's really cool. I mean, that's a massive attribute too. He probably didn't see it, and you were probably frustrated too last year, but at the younger levels, like he probably could have excelled more as one thing last year. But the thing is, for where he wants to go, having that diversity, the ability to move around, sees the game from different aspects, that really is an added benefit to him at the end of the day, because he'll do whatever position he ends up in. He'll be better at that. He will be. So that's okay.
Yeah, and that's what I figured too. Yeah, I that's what I thought too, and that's what I always encouraged. And I said it's really good for your development. Like, you know, of course he's got his mindset that he wants to be a certain position, and that's what he wants. But I'm like, well, you'll be better at that if that's the case. But
right,
I will. He's doing good.
That's fantastic. No, he was great. He was awesome to work with. Not that you were like super hesitant. I know we had a couple of phone calls, but you didn't really know what the heck the program was all about, or you probably didn't even really know who I was too much. I'm not really sure how long you were following me or whatever. Do you have a message to anyone else that was in your shoes like 6 weeks ago, as far as, you know, making the decision, or what made the decision, made you follow through on it? Is there anything out there for parents who are wondering if they should partake?
At you for about a year before I really thought Jax needed this. I knew he needed something because navigating the hockey world is not easy. And there's a lot of like a game within the game too. And I really feel like this is a great program, just because honestly, it gave me a peace of mind. Like I'm at peace now with what's happening. My kid can handle it now. Like I really feel he's got tools that he can handle any situation on the ice, off the ice, at school, for his future in general. I feel these tools can be used, you know, like in his everyday life. And I feel like he's going to be a stronger, happier kid and adult. because he has this behind him, honestly. Like, I see it in him. He feels good. He feels at peace with whatever, because there's always turmoil. There's always something going on in hockey, right? There's always, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Good, bad, all the rest. And I love the sport. Like, I really do. I never change it. He's great at it. But there's a lot you have to navigate with different personalities, and just the game itself, right? So, and how you're going to handle the next shift, or how you're going to handle what that coach said to you. Sometimes it makes sense, right? Sometimes you're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But sometimes you're like, whoa, that's like out to left field. And you're like, how are we going to handle that and still be productive and move forward, right? And that's what I want for him. I want him to move forward, be successful, be happy. And you've given him the tools to do that. And it's given me as a parent peace of mind that he's gonna get through this, okay, and with confidence. And not just confidence, but he's happy. Like, he's happy, and he knows why. Like, he sees it. So I feel like that's the big success within your program. Like, there's future things there for him, and he's gonna grab them, and he's gonna know how to do it.
Oh man, thank you so much. I mean, I
Yeah.
almost teared up actually. Like, that's so the happy part, right? I mean, I mean, I was in those shoes, right? And I can remember how serious I was about it, and I remember how important everything was to me. And
It is, and it actually almost makes me tear up, right?
yeah. And he's like the happy. I mean, and then I get my hockey dad, instead of my hockey coach. And like, what do you want for your kid? I mean, you want them to enjoy the experience, right? Like, you want them to thrive in
100%.
it and to have a good time while they're doing it. And that's really, I mean, I got 3 kids. They
Yeah.
all think they want to play in the NHL too, right? Like, who knows?
Yep.
Maybe they all will, maybe none of them will. It doesn't matter to me. But if they enjoy that process and that journey, and they love hockey when they're done with it, and they had a good time doing it, like, I think, the sport was a success for them, and hopefully I helped that
Yep.
in that, you know what I mean? And that's the dad, that's the hockey dad, right? And so
Yep.
that felt
a
really good
hundred
when you were saying
percent.
that. I love that you're saying he's happier. So that's cool. Um,
Yeah.
just from the financial side, for like, then like, you're saying that, I mean, it was, $800, for some families, that's a lot of money. For some families, it doesn't matter as much, but it's not something that you just kind of don't consider. Like, do you feel that then the value is there for what you invested?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And like, I'm a single parent, and for me, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, but I feel like there's like nutrition. I feel like that's important. Like, these are like pillars, fundamentals to success in one's life, like, and $800 is reasonable for what it is. Like, I feel it's on point, honestly.
Awesome.
It's on point.
Awesome.
I think, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to stop this recording